Okay guys, welcome back to episode 15 I think it is of our Space Hopper game. Today we're going to be focusing, well this week I think we're going to be moving our focus back onto this game for a bit and away from the slab stacker game, just because I haven't figured out that bug yet, so yeah. So in today's episode we're going to jump into our Space Hopper game quickly, and we are going to start working on the data entry. So we're going to start populating our leaderboard with, I think we might make it a maximum of 10 entries, so you only get the top 10 high scores. And then what we'll do after that in the next episode, I think, is we will actually start saving that data onto the device or the system that you're using to play the game. But today, if we jump straight into our game here, you can see where we left off yesterday, or in the previous episode. We started creating the UI of our game, which, or of our what's called our a leaderboard, which looks like this. We might change it and add some actual background pictures to it so it looks a little bit better. I haven't decided yet, but for today what we're going to do is we are going to create a script, attach it to our leaderboard, and then we will try and populate our leaderboard with 10 entries. So, and then after that we will actually try and add data into the leaderboard. We won't save the data yet, but we will try and add it in manually, just through probably like 10 lines of code for now. And then in the next episode we will actually work on the UI for adding your high score and your name after you have finished playing the game, as well as saving that game onto the device. So let's get started by, first of all, we need to, looking at my plan here quick, we need to do all of this. It's not very long, so this is the only thing we're going to be doing in today's episode. Just a few things, it's not going to take that long. So I'm going to push this off to the side here. So the first thing we want to do is let's have a look at our hierarchy here quickly. So what we're going to do first is let's open up this on our canvas and see what we've got here. So here our panel, that's our panel, and that is our leaderboard. So I'm just going to hold on. What I want to do here is, okay, so our main panel, our parent panel right under our canvas is the entire screen. So if we change that to red, you can see it lights up the whole screen. So we could probably make this like a light color. So our child panel is actually the container kind of that we want, but we probably will add in another container. So let's say this panel, we will rename this to leaderboard. We will get rid of our panel like that, we'll save that, and then underneath our leaderboard we have our back button, which is this red button here to close the leaderboard and go back to the game. In our image here we have our leaderboard text title, which actually names what the panel is, so it's just a little bit of like a title, kind of. It's exactly a title, I don't know what I'm saying. And then under that we have our entry. Right, so this is what we're going to be doing today. Today we are pretty much using code, going to copy this 10 times and simply paste it one under the other, so just like this 10 times, but we're going to do that through the code, and then in the next episode we will populate these when you enter your name after playing the game. So I'm going to delete those again because we don't need that. So for the first thing we're going to do is we are going to create a new script. So on our, what's called here, scenes, no not scenes, scripts, let's go ahead and create a new script. So create C#. This is going to be called leaderboard. And then let's go ahead and open that up. And then in here we are going to need a reference to our, let's just bring that over quick because it's opened. We'll pop that in there. Okay, cool, so I don't think we'll need those, so we'll get rid of those for now. And then what we want to do is we need to get a reference to our container and our entry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another empty object here, and I'm going to call this container and I'm going to add our entry into our container. But our container I am going to resize so that it fits our entire leaderboard, and then our entry should be inside of our container as a child object. So let's go back into our script here and let's make some references here. So we could, I don't know if we can, how do we want to do this? Do we want to drag and drop the references in, or do we want to find them? Let's see, can we add a, I think we'll try and add in a game object for our leaderboard into the game. So we will start by saying, we'll make them serialized fields so that we can drag and drop. So serialized field, private, this is going to be a transform, and then this is going to be our container, and then I want to do copy and paste that and make this our, what is it going to be? It's going to be our entry, what do we call it? This needs to be an entry. Okay, we'll just leave it as an entry. Cool, so we'll save that like that, and then let us go back into here and see if we can do this like this. So on our leaderboard, I am going to add in our script. So let's go and say leaderboard script. So now we have these two references here. Let's go and try and drag them in. So our entry one, we want to drag that in there, and our container, we can drag that in there. So we'll leave that like that. Don't know if it's going to work yet. We might have to change that up and try and find them in our actual script. But for now, we'll leave it like that, and then we'll come back to it if it doesn't work. So what we want to do here is whenever we, whenever the game starts up, or whenever you go and access the leaderboard scene, or whenever you, whenever you access the leaderboard screen, either from the main menu that we will create eventually, or you access it from at the end of the gameplay, we want to call the awake button. So let's go and say awake. Cool. So in our awake method, sorry. So in our awake, this is where we want to pretty much go and instantiate a bunch of different entries. So this is what I was talking about when adding the 10 different entries manually, just when I copy and paste them. That is exactly what we're going to be doing in here in our awake code for now, but then we'll make a separate function just to make it more simplified and better code practice. So but for now, let us go and say what do we want to do? We want to go, should we make this, how big is this? Actually, yeah, we're going to make top 10 only. So let's go and say we need to make a for statement. So for, let's start. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We'll try. So for int I is equal to 0, or 0. I is less than 10 because we are only adding our top 10 entries, and then I plus, so that's going to iterate over from 0 to 9. So this is where we're going to instantiate our entry. So but if we go, first of all, before we do that, we need to go and have a look in our game here. So as you can see, we already have one in our game, which is the kind of like the template one. We could use that one, but we're not going to use that one because it'll make this a lot more complicated. You would have to start with only make 9 entries and then populate the one that's already on screen, and take that into account when you sort them in the score order. But so that's not what we're going to do. Today we are going to simply go and say entry. If we can type, so entry, that's why I'm using M. So entry dot game object, what am I doing? Dot game object dot set active, and that is going to be false. So if we save that and we play our game now, you should see that as soon as the if we can figure this out, what's happening here. I think this might be something to do with these drag in that we did here. So let's see. Panel. Can't see this. Bring this up so you can see. Okay, null reference exception. Instance not set to an instance of an object. Yeah, okay, where are we looking? So let's try and play the game and see what happens. Okay, so I think that was just an error from before. So as you can see on our leaderboard, we don't have any entries now. We don't have the template that we had because we set it to be false. So that's working, and a good thing is these things are actually working as well. So that's a good sign. So now let's go and instantiate 10 of those entries back into the leaderboard. To do this, we could instantiate them all at once, which we're going to do, but then they are going to all land up on top of each other. So you're going to have 10 all on top of each other, which will make it look like there's only one. So what we're going to do is we want to figure out how high our entry is. So our entry has a height of 55. So we will record a height up here. So we will say, actually, let's do it up here. Let's go and say private. We will make this private because it doesn't need to change. It will always be the same. Private, this is going to be an int. What is it called? Height is equal to, I think it was 55, so we'll make it 60 just so there's a gap in between them. Actually, let's make it 58, because there'll be a gap at the top and the bottom. I think that's how it works. So in our for statement here, what we want to do is we want to instantiate the entry template. So to do that, let's go and create a new transform. So let's say transform, what is it called? Let's call this, let's just call it an entry transform, yeah, because this is going to be an entry and it's a type transform. So let's try entry transform is, if we can type entry transform is equal to instantiate. So here we need our template, so let's call our entry, and then what we also need is our container, so let's call our container like that. Cool. So that should instantiate a entry transform 10 times. But then actually let's go and see if this actually works. So we'll save that and we will go back into here and we will press play. Okay, so here are our entries, but I have a feeling that they are all disabled, which they are. So this is what we want them to look like, and it's what we eventually will get them to look like, one underneath each other. So just go ahead and unplay that, or go out of gameplay mode and jump back into our script. So now we want to work on getting them to instantiate underneath each other so that they're not all on the same in the same place. So to do that, we need to create a rect transform. So let's go and say rect. If I can type properly, rect transform is equal to entry transform dot get component. I can't see my keyboard. The microphone's in the way. Get component, and this is going to be a rect transform. It needs to be the same type. Cool. So that's just going to get the rect transform off of our entry transform and save it into our rect. So actually, let's give this a better name. Let us say, let's do this, entry rect transform. Makes sense. Cool. So now we want to go and change the position of it, or the anchor position of it. To do that, let's go and say entry rect transform dot anchored position is going to be equal to a new vector 2. The x is going to be 0 because we don't want it to move on the x-axis. So we want to stay in the same place. Let's just see if it is at 0. So where's our entry? So yeah, 0, x is going to be at 0, and then every time we move it, we are going to only move it on the on the y-axis. So it's going to go up and down depending on the rank. So what we want here is this is where we want to add in our height that we created. So height, and then the z1 is, well, what am I doing? Yeah, so height, and because it's a vector 2 we only need x and y, so that's fine. So now let us go and say entry rect transform, oh no, sorry, what am I doing? Just entry transform dot game object dot set active is equal set active true. So this is going to set all of the transforms that get instantiated into the scene back to true so that we can actually see them. So let's go save that, and then we'll jump back into here and we'll press play. And I hope that the original entry is not okay. So the original one is not set equal to active, so that's good. But now you can see that they are actually getting instantiated into the scene. They're all over here, but we did something wrong because we did not tell them to go to the right place. So let's go and see what's wrong. Okay, so the thing is here, we are instantiating them all at the same height, and that's not what we want. That's not what we want. So to do that, to change this, all we have to do is times this by our index. Well, not our index, in this case is our I. So each height is going to depend on the rank, in other words. So the first one is going to be obviously at 0 because I is going to be equal to 0. The next one is going to be at 58. The next one is going to be at 116 or whatever it is, and so on. So we'll save that, and then we'll go back into here, and we will press play. Okay, so that is working nicely, but a bit of a problem. We can see that they are all going up, so we need to change this to negative so that they go down. So let's go and do this again. So we'll go out again and then press play again. So now that is looking good. I also really like the spacing between that. That worked out a lot better than I thought it was going to be. But now we need to change the starting position. So our x is going to be, or y is going to be at 0, and this needs to be up here somewhere. So somehow we need to start this off at 300, and then obviously the next one will, what am I doing? The next one will start off over here, like that. So let's go and figure out how to do that. Okay, so let's see, what am I doing? Typing random things. Okay, so let's see, if we start at what we'll do is let's try and set our heights to equal to no, we can't change that because that's going to change the gap between them. So what we want to do is we want to try and shift everything up by, what's a good place for it to be? So we want it to be probably about up here somewhere. So we'll say 350. So let's just try this quick. So if we do this, we'll put this in brackets here. I don't really know if this is going to work, but let's go and say the negative height times I, and then we also want to add 350 onto that. So we'll save that, and then we'll go back into our game. So hopefully that will shift everything up a bit. So unplay that and go back in, and then yeah, so that works a little bit. I'm going to make the gap a little bit bigger, so that will increase that to 60. And we'll go back, and then we will play again and see what that looks like. So there should be a bigger gap, which there is, so that's good. We could probably add a few more entries in just so that we can fill out that gap. So let's go and say about 13 maybe, and then that should fill out another 1 or 2 in there, or maybe even 3. Let's see. Cool. So yeah, I think we'll leave it at top 13 just so we can fill up that space. So that's very nice. So let's go back here and just get rid of this number quick. So over here, I'm going to set this equal to offset. So I'm going to create a variable here. So this is going to be a private, why can't I spell? Private int offset is equal to, I think that was 350 if I'm correct. So that shouldn't change anything. That should be fine. It should work perfectly fine as how it was. Great. So now let us go and try and populate some of these entries. So to do that, we are going to manually do this quickly just for this episode. And then in the next episode, we will work on doing this properly. I just want to show you how it looks, or how it's supposed to look. So for each entry, we want to input something into the rank placeholder, into the, what is it called, the rank, the name placeholder, and the score. Okay. So these have all got names, so we can, for these 3, just because there's only 3 of them, we're just going to find them using the name of them. So let's go and say, what is it called? Entry, transform this one. So we'll copy and paste that there. Dot find, I think it is. We will find it with our text, so we want to find rank, actually. Yeah, we'll just do all of them quick. So rank, like that. Dot get components, so now we want to get the text off of it. Text, well, I can't remember what this is. GUI. Text. Okay, we're gonna have to find like this. I haven't used this in a long time. Oh, maybe I can select this text, man. No. We'll start off with text and then see what comes up. But for some reason I feel like that's not gonna work. So get component, show potential fixes. Bring that in so that gets rid of that. So text.text, and that is going to be equal to first. So we'll leave it as first for now. And then what we want to do is we want to copy this entire line, paste it 3 times, and then over here instead of rank we'll say name, and then this is going to be score, I believe. Yeah, so rank, name, and score. So name, we will add my name in, and then score, we will put a random number. So let's get and say we got to 2,310. Let's see what that looks like. So we'll save that, which I did, and then we'll jump back into here. And now, if this does work, we should see that that's not going to work because I think it's got that text issue. So what does this say? Object reference not set to an instance of an object. Okay, leaderboard, line 24, which is this one. Okay, so we need to change this. I don't think it's text. It is the new one that Unity came out with, which is Text Mesh Pro. Which I think is using text Mesh Pro like that. And then I can't remember what this is. Text. That's the one. Okay, I think this should work now. So we can get rid of that because we don't need that anymore. So we'll save that and jump back into here, and hopefully now we can see our game play, I think. So still not working, so let's see, leaderboard. Okay, so clearly this is not working, so let's see, object reference. Okay, I think I might know why this is not working. So entry transform dot child get child. Actually, let's do this. Entry transform dot get component. Let's comment these out quick so we can see what's happening. Get component text mesh pro dot name. So that should we'll print this out in our console so that we can see if we are actually getting the name of it, or just a name of one of the text components that's on it. So we'll print this out. So we're not. Okay, so let's see, entry transform. Actually, what am I doing? I did that wrong. It's supposed to be entry transform dot, we'll get there eventually, game object dot name. I just want to see what our entry transform is actually. I think it's going to be entry. So if we play this, we should get entry clone. Yeah, okay, so what we need to do is we need to access the child object of it. So let's go and say entry dot game object dot get component in children, and then what is it? It's going to be image like that dot. So we need to import this again. Show potential fix UI. Import that in. So try it again. Dot don't get component in children again, I think. And this is where we have our text. Dot name. So let's try and print that out and see what that gives us. Which is a bit of a pain because we have to go from our entry into a child, and then from there we're on our image, and then we have to go into our child again. So if we play this now, let's see, hopefully we won't get any errors. Okay, so there we go, we have our rank, and obviously it's printed out multiple times because we are printing out one each time. So now we got that, we can go back into here and say, get rid of our debug and a name. Here we can say can we say dot find, or let's try and do this, dot find how are we going to do this? Okay, let's get rid of that and put that back. So now that we've got our children components, find components in children dot, what is it, dot find, no, let's Google this quick and see. Here we want to say Unity get text components from child. Be a component, okay. Let's try this script. Where are we? Where's our script? Okay, so game. Can we do that without game object? Dot game. No, we can't access game object of that. If we let's try this quick. Let's try and say game object entry. Let's try and say text or image rather, because it is image in. Image is equal to this. Can I convert UI image to game object? Okay. Image. And then here we will say, what are we going to say? We want to say, this episode is going a lot longer than I expected to go. So, what do we want here? We've got our image now, and now we want to get our text off of our image. So can we say image dot game object dot find dot get components in children that's not going to work because we have more than one. So let's see. Let's try something else. So for now I'm going to make these a child of our entry like that. Then what I will do is I will get rid of our image here and say entry transform dot find rank. Okay, so we'll save that and we'll jump back into here. And then hopefully this will make a bit of a difference, that we don't have to go through that whole long complicated process, which I think it worked. So let's try this again. So now we will go ahead and get rid of these, and we'll get rid of these. Now we should see, instead of all of them having first player 1000, they should have first Gino and then the score, which they do. So the simple solution is to get rid of the image as a parent object of the rank, name and score, and rather just make that a child object of the actual entry. So that works nicely. So in the next episode we are going to be working on, what are we going to be doing? We are going to be actually working on saving the data, I think, as well as populating the leaderboard through the actual game and not just through the script. So that is probably it for today's episode. So again, thank you so much for watching again, and I will, well, hopefully you enjoyed this episode and it didn't go on for too long because we ran into a bit of a problem. But yeah, that's it for this episode. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.